Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. Good afternoon. My name is Jatinder Singh. I'm Associate Editor, Enterprise Technology, CIO&Leader, and a very warm welcome to CIO&Leaders Annual Conference. The session for today is Modernizing IT, Cloud and Edge, and we have very exciting, eminent panelists amongst us. Uh, before I introduce them, I would like to set the context. Uh, Today's masterclass is on modernizing IT, cloud, and edge, and we all understand that cloud and edge computing are though they are different but complementary to each other. And moving to the cloud offers a host of benefits such as speed, agility, and cost savings. Uh, uh, we have seen how cloud has enabled us modernizing our IT, accelerated digital transformation, and through massive amount of data which powers it and support it, leveraging different technologies. Things are moving at a pace which nobody would have anticipated a few years back. To unlock the full potential of data, organizations, however, they need cloud and edge to run together for speedy connectivity. This is especially in today's space of distributed workspace environment, as people are moving toward working based on their preferences. And by taking enterprise application closer to the point where the data is generated, that is at the edge, exceptional experiences can be created. Delivering cloud experiences across edges enable businesses to unlock new and exciting opportunities, helping them deliver unique customer experiences and make new revenue streams in today's distributed environment. Edge and IoT offer real-time insight and intelligence for organizations looking to digitally transform with rapid automation, more innovative operations, and of course, faster response time. Uh, in today's masterclass, we will hear from our senior technology leaders the strategies and the best way forward for organization to make benefits of the cloud, such as easier manageability, flexibility of investment available for in-premise equipment, and especially with regards to things like Industry 4.0, where many sensors, IoT data needs to be analyzed closer to respective plants, where they are generating due to low latency needs for specific applications. They'll discuss key questions, they'll discuss key steps and winning points as our IT fraternity embark on their respective journeys. Enterprises look forward to the role of edge in predictive decision making and remediation of threats and anomalies. You will also hear about you will also hear get to know about the technical strategies that IT leaders can adopt by leveraging hybrid cloud and edge for modernizing IT, and of course the challenges associated with edge computing, including security and how to manage this. So we have a very strong and stellar set of panelists with us. I would like to quickly introduce them. Mr. Chetan Trivedi, CIO, Hindustan Zinc. Hi, sir.
Hello, Jatinder.
Hi, sir. Mr. Deepak Bhosle, GMIT Asian Paint. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, all of you.
Hi, sir. Vikram K, Senior Director, Industry Verticals, HP.
Hey, good
HPE.
afternoon.
Hi, sir. Hi. Good afternoon. Mr. Vinay Khargaonkar, VP and Head Corporate IT, LNT.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Sarita Auti, Global CISO, UD Trucks. Hi, ma'am.
Sorry, I was on mute. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi. Hello and welcome. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you again for joining in. I hope everyone is in a good shape and safe and healthy. So next, I would first like to invite Mr. Chetan Trivedi, CIO from Hindustan Zinc, to share his perspective on modernizing IT and the role of cloud and edge to equip organization in setting up new and exciting business environments. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jatinder. I think importance of cloud and edge is something today we don't have to talk too much about that. Everyone is actually recognizing the fact that it is very important. The point here basically is that how exactly they can coexist. And you rightly mentioned that today it is complementary to each other in terms of cloud and edge. But if you go back into this, we actually all started with edge computing only, right? And then we moved to the centralization, and ultimately cloud came, and then we how that concept came in. Now with Industry 4.0, we are actually coming back to the edge computing now, and largely because the use cases in the Industry 4.0 technology are surrounding around more of an operations as compared to other areas. So there are two parts of the whole thing. One is basically operationally, a lot of use cases and value is being unlocked using the remote control operations, remote manufacturing, image analytics and video analytics using CCTV cameras actually in the plant, right? Like exceptions and other things. How do you really get to know about that? So that requires basically a data to be, and it's a humongous data, right? And that data is required to be processed locally. So that's where the basically the localized concept comes into picture, which is conceptually edge computing. On the other side, we are using so much of data which we require basically not on those kind of real time, but not basically to be locally processed. And there are use cases like very long-term use cases of predictive analytics and those kind of stuff, democratization of the analytics and those kind of stuff. So that basically calls for some kind of an adoption of a cloud where you have a flexible computing or storage capacity and various microservices available to really use that on that top of that. So we have basically a very strong use case on both the side of things, right? And both are equally important. Actually, it works in tandem also, right? To get the full benefit out of that. That's where basically we come to a topic where we need to really now talk about how basically a cloud and edge computing can coexist, and what are the challenges, what should be the right architecture around that. So that's my perspective of that. Obviously, edge computing as compared to standalone cloud as a coexistence is very recently being talked about, and every organizations are trying to drive their architecture as well as the kind of the use cases how to make that. But I think we are progressing in that direction as a industry.
Great, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective and exciting insights about setting the context how cloud and edge can play a pivotal role in in helping organization modernizing their IT system and reap rich dividends. I would like to go to Mr. Deepak Bhosle, GMIT Asian Paints, to have his perspective on as some of the tactical strategies that IT leaders can follow as they are leveraging hybrid cloud and edge for modernizing IT. So,
yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
thanks.
yes.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's actually the views I have is more in terms of how do you really go about planning your entire movement to this new paradigm which all of us are seeing. Today, edge computing, I think it's around 10% of it is happening at the edge, and by 2025, I guess that percentages are going to increase by 8 or 9x. And when we mean edge computing, it's largely about taking computing as close as possible to the end user or to the source data systems. In terms of how do you plan it, I think it all needs to come up from your own digital strategy. And cloud computing, edge computing is a pretty critical part of your digital strategy in that sense. So from there, once you define your digital strategy, and in that strategy you define how do you want to leverage the cloud, how do you want to leverage the edge computing part of it, and how does it align to your overall this strategy aligning to overall objectives of your digital strategy, which could be either bringing in different competitive differentiators. It could be either bringing in a cost leverage or a cost advantage, or it could be in improvement in your customer experiences. So somewhere it needs to get connected there. And once you have stated your cloud strategy and the principles of your cloud strategy, and I think then it goes about looking at how do you go about checking at what state you are in. Look at the state which your apps today are in, your infrastructure in, and basis that you can then start chalking a pathway, a direction, a milestone which says that you want to be at this place by this time, and basis that then you start. That's where your actionables come out, and that's where and that's how we use it. Either then we start looking at all our entire landscape, and then we take calls whether this landscape needs to be rehosted or it needs to be refactored, or it could be replaced completely, or it could be rebuilt. And most of the times, whenever we want to do anything transformational, it always gets into the zone of being rebuilding it. And today, with the power of with 5G being coming in, with cloud computing being so extremely viable, with the advancements in made in AI ML, with these algorithms really giving you great results, and the possibility of deploying this intelligence at the edge, it creates a new type of differentiator, new type of experience for employees, for customers, for partners. And I think this needs to get planned well. You need to get in the right skills who can work on this, and most importantly, you need to have the buy-in of the leadership teams where you're proposing such solutions. And as we go ahead, I can possibly talk about some of the stuff which has been happening within Asian Paints, just to which aligns to the strategy which I just mentioned.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your perspective and adding more to the context. I would like to invite Mr. Vinay Khargaonkar, VP and Head Corporate IT, LNT, for his views. So, how is LNT reading for its fourth industrial revolution? If you can touch upon that. And we all have seen LNT over the last couple of years has slowly enhanced its technology footprint and charting a course in new technology portfolio as compared to its traditional business. Probably if you can share some learnings from that, it would be really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. I'll start from the question what you have put now. See what we have done in last few years. Like probably nobody has done in India. We have modernized or digitized almost 15,000 field equipments with digital. And those equipments are from various vintages from 1960s to 2020. So who thought in 1960 that we should have devices which should speak and speak in real time as to what is happening? So our construction machinery division, we have connected 15,000 batching plants, diesel generators, cranes, and welding machines and whatnot. Now, this what is a very ambitious project we took some time back, and we could get a lot of data and how to handle this massive data where the cloud come into picture. That is the IoT platform what we have. So as of now, in our digital data center, we get real-time feeds of what is going on. We exactly know as to like we have workman automation program where we get exactly how many workmen are working on which site. We have almost like 300,000 people coming in and go out of our sites where the construction is going on. It was earlier getting managed through some Excel sheets and local systems. And that's where the power of cloud come into picture. So you don't have to depend on somewhat old generation technology and wait for something happening. Here you get all these insights. This is what is the sort of, a great work we have done. Apart from that, a lot of work has been done on cloud using AI ML technologies, where we have to make some sense of what is happening inside the contracts. Another advantage of cloud. Actually, if you see and closer to LNT, we are brick and mortar industry, and we are not B2C. It's purely a B2B business, and in that to do digital, we have to do the digital in the back end, not in the front end. I call it as a back end digital. But a very strong foundation has been put and example setting has been done. Construction is one example, with all other workshops, wherever it is possible, we need to get insights from our other machinery, whatever we have, whether the machine tools or welding machines or our barges. They are now connected in real time, they speak. I would not say that it is a runaway success, but at least we have good amount of insights of what is going on. And we have done cloud where it makes sense. So it's very important to understand. All vendors are there to shout their story, and we have to really understand where is a winning game for me. And that's what we have to differentiate. And that's where we are differentiating ourselves. We have not done lift and shift. Actually, it doesn't make sense to do lift and shift. So we have to be very choosy, because even large corporates, they are counting dollars like every day. The IT budgets are not free run, what used to happen once over time. And we have to be very careful or mindful to where we are putting our dollars to, whether there is a return or there is no return. So story inside L&T is mixed, I would say, but there are a lot of benefits we have seen where it makes sense, as I said earlier. Not lights on operation, simply shifting to cloud, and the cost goes up dramatically. There's no need to do so. So it's a mixed story, as I said, but more and more new products and platform, whatever you're buying, they're actually, the suppliers are pushing us to cloud. Now we have a huge, I think 2 days back, we had a HR digitalization story published in the Economic Times. So our complete L&T staff, their attendance systems, their records, promotions, increments, everything is coming through SuccessFactors platform. So one side, the machinery, other side, the other modernization programs are going on. And I think this journey will continue. And in terms of edge, now if you look at the machinery, what I'm talking about, there is no velocity, there is no volume, really speaking. Where you want to make a real-time decision, like for example, one of my co-panelists said that 5G is coming and you will have connected cars in days to come. When you will get data with volume and velocity, actually and want to make decision real time for, say, driverless car, probably that time it will really open up a lot for all of us. But as of now, I would say, other than filtering noise at the edge, not much of, I would say, case studies are available inside L&T, what we've done. So that's what is to be there in L&T. It's a real story. It's not something which we have not done it. We experienced it. We have touched it. We have felt it. And I think journey will be much more exciting in days to come.
Sure, sir. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So could you please also add maybe a few things from your learnings, and how, especially with respects to the Industrial 4.0, which you have accelerated your journey. Probably you can share some tips for companies who are undertaking that journey, and some of the key bottlenecks which you might have faced in the in the early days of transformation.
The journey is tough.
Yeah.
So journey is not that easy. We have to have a lot of patience, and we have to take everybody from bottom to top together. You can't simply do it in isolation. So you need a machine tool operator and the workman who's using welding machine, because they think that it is a surveillance tool. They think that somebody is going to monitor me in the back as to whether I'm working for 8 hours or no. And how to change that culture is one of the big thing which all the CIOs, actually CIOs are flying at some 30,000 feet, but actually here the CIO has to go to the ground where the rubber meets the road. And you have to look into their eyes and convince them, telling them why we are doing all these things, which is actually going to help them. Not that, I don't think we have, I don't know really, but there's no statistics with me, but I don't think we have sacked anybody because of all these things. They learned that the machinery which actually going to be manually monitored by one person, now he gets on a mobile app. The workman is unable to with the mobile. Smartphone is like, it is available with even construction workman today. When a diesel generator mechanic is managing 5 generators, he has to run around. But today he don't have to run around. So we have eased out some work for them, and that's where the story is. What is there for them? You might talk digital in the conference room, in the boardrooms here and there. What is there for the workman who's working there? If you do that way, then they will help you out in implementing things. Else, I think you can expect anything there. So initially we had some tough time, and that's how you have to do innovations with the crowd, with the people around you. Not only the workmen, but middle managers, supervisors, everybody. You have to think of them first, and then think of technology. And that's what is the great learning we had there.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you.
Keep the people part of technology.
Yeah, I think people, process, and technology, these all have to be integrated well. Even if culturally, if organizations are not ready, whether it's IoT, edge computing, or driven by the cloud environment, then also going to be really difficult to execute things in an exceptional way. That's what I think most of the CIOs would agree as well.
Yep.
Sure, sir. And now I would like to invite Sarita Auti, Global CISO UD Trucks, to share, the security angle and probably the challenges associated with edge computing and integrating it with cloud, including security, and how to manage that. If, ma'am, if you can share your insights around that.
Thanks, Jatinder. Um, it's a it's a very interesting journey because security is not considered to be the front runner for the business. So it's a very interesting journey, and I think it's a lot about understanding and being with the business objectives, especially when we move the IT landscape into cloud, or when we integrate IoT into this, or when we go in for edge computing. What is in it for the business from security standpoint? So as a security practitioner, I would never put all those controls coming from SANS or OWASP or anything, right? Straight away, I would not give it to IT heads and say, okay, I need this to be done. I would never do that. Because if I do that, then I'm setting myself for a failure. Nobody will follow and everything will go on an exception route. So why security becomes very important in this journey is because we are mostly, I know Vinayji said a very interesting aspect of it. They did not do lift and shift, but that's a handful of people in this industry do that. Most of my clients, they want to do lift and shift and fix it later, remediate it later. So in that context, security becomes a very important aspect because we carry forward all the vulnerabilities which are on the IT landscape, which have been there for last 1 decade or 2 decade or more than that into the cloud environment. And we are actually opening up all the environment into to anyone who is curious to get into our network, maybe hackers or maybe those enthusiastic kids from the college, whoever it is, right? So that is one angle to that. And that is, it's very hard to convince because security is considered as a cost, not quality. So security is seldom related to quality and safety, but more related to cost. So it is not easy to convince the business to include security controls as they migrate. So simple control maybe, I'll take one of the example, like mainframe applications are still relevant in the manufacturing and automotive sector, because they manage some paint shop, they manage warehouse applications or something of that sort. And when the mainframe migration happens from the mainframe environment to the private cloud, I'm just taking one small example. All those user IDs with hard coded passwords also enter into the private cloud environment. It's a very small, very, very basic example, but very common. And now, how do we fix it? Everybody says, okay, let's migrate first and then fix it. And that never happens. So we are keeping we are actually increasing the threat landscape by doing that. That's one aspect. Second is simple configurations. When we do this cloud, right, we miss out on the horizontal scaling configurations. A simple example. That's a classic avenue for crypto mining kind of cyber attacks. Now, how do I convince a business unless these movements are seen or shown? It's very hard to convince, but these are some of the things. My view is security goes hand in hand into any digital program and IT modernization, especially when we move and also application rationalization. That is what I believe.
Sure, ma'am. That's absolutely valid inputs, and security has to be considered as a critical component of overall cloud, edge, and IoT strategies, which we are talking about to have more success. We have seen why many IoT implementations failed in the initial years because of some or the other security gaps and risk associated with that. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Vikram from HPE to share his perspective and how he's helping companies, including if he, sir, if you can also share, you know, some of the initiatives which can help companies predict decision making effectively and remediate threats and anomalies and build a strong cloud and edge strategies, it would be great. Thanks. So you are on mute. Vikram, you are on mute.
Yeah. So sorry. So I was, listening to Vinay and others speak, Chetan as well as Sarita ma'am speak in rapt attention, primarily because what I have here is a fairly condensed version of many customers across many industry verticals, and in this case, what we are seeing is to the point that Vinay made. He said, do cloud where it makes sense, and the, the simplest and the most profound strategy seems to be adopting a hybrid cloud strategy. uh, and then you split that up. There's the edge part, and then the rest of it will split up. Everybody has their own sense of how many microservices to spawn, which are the workloads they want to migrate to the cloud, so on and so forth. There are a set of dependencies for each of these priorities, and we, with our advisory and professional services from Point Next, which is a services arm, uh, at all points of time provide consultancy to customers on an ongoing basis about how they need to prioritize, what to migrate, what to refactor, what to replatform, so on and so forth. There are some excellent examples. Of course, because of Vinay, I've never heard. Perhaps that's the largest in terms of size. He said 1960 to 2020, and several thousands of field equipments that were digitized. It is perhaps the largest in the country. Maybe Asian Paints is the other that might have done something very similar, but that is a significant achievement. Primarily because when you're going into this area of IT and OT integration, so on and so forth, just the number of buses that you start handling, right? This is bus, mod bus, so on and so forth, and making it sort of understand each other and interoperable, so to say, is a massive challenge. So like Sarita pointed out as well. So I mean, there are lots of aspects. I mean, I think the first thing to see is that this whole thing is a journey, and to accord a value to each step in the journey. Second, and towards doing that, I guess all priorities need to be aligned to the fact that when I mentioned this in a different way, but I think everything needs to be aligned to the outcome as a priority. Because once you manage this mix of a hybrid mix, which is edge and the cloud, there are many small pockets that throw up, and each is a very important phase in itself. And that's what we advise customers. And of course, for each of those areas, we have some infra to go with as well. If it is edge analytics, primary analytics, so on and so forth, we have some edge converged systems. But we also provide a lot of advisory around it, because we can make sense using anything today, which is data, voice, video, text, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that we do, Jatinder.
Sure,
Hope I made
sure.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, sir. No, no, you rightly pointed out a few things, how it needs to be integrated well, and connected ecosystem, which is, I think, connected ecosystem we are talking about. A lot of deliberations are going on, but it needs a cohesive strategy which I think Chetan also discussed initially, and Vinay also touched upon that, where you need to integrate each and everything in a it's a very intricate process, and expertise is needed to make it work well. While we are talking about speed, security also we are talking about, but it needs to function well as well in real time. And I think that's where making right strategies and understanding each and every aspect is going to be critical. So you rightly said. So Chetan, want to understand that data, which is considered as a gold mine, and obviously that's the base for how these technologies work effectively. It's considered as gold mine in today's scenario, where we are talking about exceptional customer experiences, and without rich repository of data, it's just not possible, irrespective of whichever industry you operate. So, how have you, probably if you can share insights, how your organization is building a repository of structured and unstructured data, and maybe you can share some tips as well for the IT heads, how to create effective data strategy. Chetan, thanks.
Uh, yeah, thanks. Incidentally, we are a mining company, okay, and now we
Yeah.
have another mine of data,
Yeah.
okay. Because as a natural resource organization, we generate a humongous amount of data, telemetry
Correct.
data of all moving equipments in the underground mines or open cast mine. We are largely underground mines, as well as a lot of many the very large ecosystem of plant technical systems also operate. So it generates a lot of data. So definitely, data is a very important. For us, and of course for every industry nowadays, data has become a very crucial for a kind of a digitalization journey which we are embarking on. Now, what we have done in terms of as a data strategy as an organization, and I will touch upon before that even the point which Vinay mentioned, that it's not very easy to really change everything, because we all sit with and we are actually kind of a mining or a kind of a manufacturing that way of processing industry. We sit with a lot of equipments, moving equipments largely in mining, as well as the stationary equipments who are outdated, right? They're not digitally compatible, not outdated in a way from a processing perspective, but they are digitally not compatible the way we want to drive use cases. And it is very capital intensive. So it's not like that घर के सारे बजट डालो kind of situation, right? You can't change everything at one go. Has to be a proper strategy in that, and a very systematic phased investment we need to do to really make them compatible. So on one side of that, we made that systematically so that we start capturing data. And again, I'm coming to the point what Vinay mentioned. We start getting the insight about it. Okay, we may not be taking certain decisions based on data, but at least we know that okay, data is coming in, and then we know that okay, how do we really put it into the next level of use case. And from that perspective, we took a very comprehensive journey of digitalization across organization in Hindustan Zinc as well as Vedanta as a whole. Okay. So one is basically like creating that particular capability, technical capability, I would say, or the on-ground equipments, machineries, and those kind of stuff. And then we are actually bringing all those data into one place as a part of a data strategy. We have created a collaboration center where the entire operations can be visualized, and that's how basically the whole data has to come at one particular place, right? And from that perspective, we have adopted a hybrid strategy. I mean, and obviously, like when we talk about the cloud, it has to be contextual. It's not like that everything can put it into the cloud, and it's all about the organizational context. So we have put certain things into the cloud, basically, and certain things we have kept it as a private cloud within our itself, which actually will help us in terms of edge computing. Because for edge computing perspective, the private cloud or so-called on-premise kind of things will actually also help us a lot. Okay, so that's how we have approached the whole data strategy. And there are many strategies people do architecturally. People when we talk about cloud and edge together, that okay, I can have a hybrid cloud, public and private cloud, and I have edge computing differently. But architecturally, it makes sense many a times that you have edge computing itself as a private cloud and you have public cloud and that works. There are many cases people do architecturally that okay, edge computing becomes a master and then the public cloud becomes the slave kind of environment. So we have actually opted for the first option, but how we are doing that. But I will also touch upon the one particular point when we talk about digitalization and all those things. So technology is very important aspect, definitely. But the most important part for success of all those initiatives is basically the mindset and a culture, right? So how do we drive the mindset and a culture? It has to come into the blood, right? As a mindset, when we approach any problem, we actually, if mindset is digital, we approach it how digital or any new generation technology can help me to really address this particular thing. So that is also parallelly we have started in terms of I think digital sessions across the organization so that not only the few technologists or a few guys knows about the digital thing, but every nook and corner of the organization is actually digitally ready. So that is also equally important. So when we talk about the CIO of future, I think the two aspects are basically very, very important. One is basically data strategy, a very sound data strategy, because that is going to be a S factor basically or the important aspect. And the second aspect is basically the change management, right? And when both together, so I mean, as a CIO or as a technology, we have to drive both the things together. Actually, we should be good at both those things, leading from the front on those aspects. But that's how we carry out this our journey across the organization.
Sure. So thanks for sharing that perspective. Uh, uh, Deepak, I mean, Asian Paints, we know one of the largest paint manufacturer, and we have seen how the company has been expanding its product portfolio from paints to decorative coating, and what's not. So how are you accelerating your business at the edge with data from people, places, and things? Coming back to what Chetan has shared perspective. So if you can elaborate your journey and probably some of the key nitty-gritties for our IT managers as well. Yeah, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, just building on what Chetan was mentioning, for us, we realized that there was an opportunity, again, from a digital point of view, in terms of bringing in a transformation using the power of what technology has got to offer. And that's where we said somewhere around 24 to 36 months ago, we said we need to really state what we want to do and the state we want to be in. And we said we want to be an insight-driven organization, and we call it an IDO. When I say we want to be an insight-driven organization, it means that we want to embed, we want to build it's more cultural. Chetan was mentioning, it's more very cultural, it's more mindset rather than technology. So how do you embed decision making, data first decision making type of a culture? If you see the type of decision making which happen in an organization, on one side of the spectrum you'll have very intuition driven decision making, or the person we call it the hippo effect, wherein the highest paid person in the room, his decisions are possibly taken as the decisions. And on the other side you have the Netflixes of the world who are doing purely through data. They would want to see what data is being throwing up, and they'll go by what data is throwing. So we sort of did an assessment in terms of where are we, and we saw that we were quite we had some distance to move in terms of getting a good mix of being having completely data driven, and also we would want to really use experience, intuition, and all that, just validate and possibly create allow our employees to take best decisions. And we started seeing it. Decisions are taken at very strategic levels. They are tactical and operational. So we wanted to impact all of that, and that's where we said that we need to be an IDO. An IDO is a mindset of a person who gets inquisitive enough to look at data points when he's making a decision. Okay, and the decisions we were largely we wanted to get the organization into a space where they are able to predict, get into the predictive and prescriptive zone, because we have been doing a lot of diagnostics since last 12 years. We have been doing a lot of diagnostic and flat reporting type of analytics. So instead, with the power of AI, ML, with the power of cloud, with the power of 5G, and the fact that we had good statisticians available as skills, we said we should get going. And we based this entire idea on 5 pillars. One was getting in the management buy-in, getting in all the leaders signing up for this initiative. The second was in terms of looking at the skills. Third was in terms of driving the change management culturally. Fourth was in terms of a good data management practice. And fifth was clearly aligning the business goals onto this. So it had to impact the business this. And within every function, we went to every function, we understood their critical areas, tried to see how existing decisions could be improved by a quantum, and then took in targets, saying that every year we will deliver a certain amount of either a cost saving or a revenue increase purely through the power of better decisioning, through the power of analytics. And that's where we started doing it. We started off with one function. A lot of data gets generated in our manufacturing plants. That is because we have got some of the most automated paint plants in the world with a lot of IoT and all that there. So our first success came in there, and we were able to magnify that success in the organization. Other leaders in the organization got interested, and then they started looking at a lot of these things far more proactively. They were able to commit resources. So the model we have is some functions within Asian Paints would have data scientists of their own. For people who are still in the phase of let's pilot and see, the IT team would be lending them those data scientists. The IT team, the technology team would actually ensure that we make it easy for them to consume these insights. And one big thing which I keep doing is constantly evangelizing with leadership teams in terms of how a digital mindset or a data-driven approach can really bring in significant improvements in the functional KPIs they are driving. And we keep this program is still underway, and we have seen a good uptake of this. And previously it was IT team which was going behind the functional heads. Now the demand is so huge that we really find it very difficult to meet. So we ask the value questions whenever we're taking on any project, whether it is really impacting revenues or cost or savings in manpower or whatever. And so that's been our journey over the last 2 to 3 years.
Sure, sir. Thanks. I think one of the points, Vikram was also smiling when you said that decisions were largely made by maybe someone who is earning more, or someone who is hierarchically who is superior based on that. So I saw some very some smile on Vikram's face. Perhaps he had something in mind.
So yeah, that was a good point. I mean, I think a big takeaway is the fact that I was just going to say earlier when I was talking about what Vinay mentioned, that it's common knowledge that Asian Paints is one of those lead organizations when it comes to automation. But the interesting takeaway was certainly the IDO part, which I wrote down inside of an organization. But the HIPPO is something that I'm planning to use the next internal meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vinay, what like your perspective on obviously now we are seeing the agility and financial flexibility with applications moving to edge can generate. However, based on an industry estimate, what we see that roughly 70% of apps and data still reside on premises, and there is definitely talent shortage, which we have already discussed, to unleash real-time creativity. So how would you think this scenario, and how in your view with this modernization of apps and the cloud and edge capabilities, how can CIOs derive maximum benefits out of that with obviously their on-premises apps and data also, if you consider that, and what needed to be done?
I think it's a very good question, and see how we have. I will give some examples. A simple example: how we made a change in the business, how they used to think earlier and how they're thinking now. As to number one, we started, sort of governance meeting with our businesses almost on monthly basis. That is number one. Second thing is that whatever projects we are doing, it should be like a 90-day sprint. if you ask somebody that you are going to deliver something after 6 months and 9 months and all those things, they won't believe you, they won't trust you. The next time they won't give you a seat in the conference room. So you start going to them, asking them. Number three, the customer is interested not on the technical jargon, they are interested in outcome. See, when we told shared service center that there is significant improvement you can make and you can drive value out of your travel data what you have. So they never believed. They thought that what is there? It's expense items are there. Some 200,000 air tickets are getting booked. People are traveling at God-forsaken location. I have to clear the bills. I'm clearing the bills. But when we went inside the data and we showed them value that where the overstated claims are coming from, why they're coming from, and from which section they are coming from, they could improve the whole process end to end significantly. I'll not reveal the statistics over here for the reason it's an internal story. But if you try taking some projects and then now they came, okay, now I want to do ticket analysis. Okay, now I want to look at how my invoice processing is going on. And I would like to know the load on my every processor and what it does. So look, you have to create that type of, I would say mutual trust. As technology department, my job is to run the infrastructure, it will keep on running it. If you want to make life exciting for people around you and yourself and your peers, that's the only way you can make it once you go very near to us. Actually, I keep listening about at all forums, they'll use a sentence that data is new oil. Actually, data is much more than oil. Who's saying data is new oil? Take example simple. Oil is a finite item, and once you consume it, is gone. Data is unlimited. More you beat the data, more it reveals the truth. Are we really, striving, exerting ourselves with our technology team and giving some value to them? Then the investment on technology is really justified. As it is just a technology, it can't do anything on its own. So you have to create an ecosystem. You have to make it sort of a COE in our own team. Resources will not be there. Data will always be impure. You have to figure it out what is to be done about it. They have no time. Businesses have no time. You have to start thinking in your conference room with youngsters along with you. Try to figure out what we can do for them, how we can improve their life. If I'm doing a marketing project, how I'm improving his life. You have to actually play a double role. Actually, business role and IT role. And I'm telling with you with 3-4 years experience. Actually, he is bubbling with energy and he is very hungry. It's sometimes difficult to satisfy them. They run away. If you are not going to give them projects, run away. So there are stories, and CIOs have to really strategize, look for where is the leakage, where is the value lying, and you have to help businesses improve every day. And it is an operational excellence exercise actually. If you look at it, all digital journey is not something. This digital is jargon. Actually, I hate. And in fact, I attended one McKinsey conference. The speaker was very correct. The CFO is saying in all companies, I have more pilots than Lufthansa. I can see digital everywhere, but I cannot see digital in P&L. You keep saying that I have done digital, but where is this seen? So actually, I really liked the way McKinsey presented, and just since everywhere the noise is going on digital, I never spoke, but today I think there's a forum to speak. Digital is nothing but OPEX program, and it is happening from the day when first computer came. Why unnecessarily differentiate? It's a noise which it's created inside, but we are the people sitting at it. Vikram will not like it because Vikram is selling so many things, so many things under the digital radar. I don't buy anything under digital radar. I see what is the value. If there's a value, yes, sure. And we must see, I must focus on that and nothing else. And automatically, the guys who are creating noise, they'll run away. And the guys who really want solutions will come very closer to you. So that's what my learning is in the last 3-4 years, what a little work we have done to change some inside story in last 2. If it helps you, fine. It doesn't help you, it's okay with me. Thank you.
Sure,
I hope
Vinay.
it helps.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, no, quite uh, a comprehensive view in a very in data is definitely not a new oil, and we have been generating and doing that. It's like we discussed the people, process, technology. It all happens to it all basically revolve around that. And there are definitely a lot of exciting things which data transformation can create. But before that, we need to I think the outcome based approach is also needed, that what we exactly need to achieve data transformation. By just saying that we are transforming ourselves, or we need these capabilities, whether it's IoT, edge, or driven by 5G, organization need to understand and what is the exact outcome that they need to achieve with different technology implementations. And
True.
I think that that's how they can achieve more efficient platforms.
Right.
So Sarita, coming back to you, we from security standpoint also, I mean, now organizations are developing their in-house applications to enable sales, whether it's manufacturing, planning, distribution, and taking cloud closer to the edge, which is very critical. However, I mean, to make it more successful and innovate faster and deliver to the business needs, and making sure the customer-centric solutions, customer-ready solutions are being built effectively. Uh, edge computing and 5G, since data is generated at a massive level, they there are also problem related to data storage, security related issues, and how there are different data endpoints also which you need to consolidate and to make sure that they are protective at each and every stage. So can you share some uh, uh, can you share your perspective on those grounds, and probably highlight some of the trends that you are foreseeing, that you foresee in the near future from securing data in a comprehensive manner?
Sure. One simple approach, what I always take,
Hmm.
is security around the data flow. Because where
Okay.
data gets generated, where it gets processed, consumed, stored, so there is a specific flow for based on a business need, or the how the business works. There is a data flow. I would say it's a top-down approach. It because it also requires the data flow diagrams to be in place, and then define a security control based on where the data is residing. For example, if you're using Salesforce, right? The data is managed and handled by Salesforce in their SaaS environment. So all I have to do is make sure that I have an access control, who is accessing that data and how it is getting consumed in the environment. That is one model. Then we have public clouds, where we have infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, and security controls are different for both of them. Then we have our own private clouds. So it actually depends on the data flow and the context in which the data is moving in and out. So security is around that. I don't believe when people come and say, okay, deploy your multi-factor authentication. First question I would ask, even I am a security practitioner, but I have come from an application development background. So I ask anyone who tells me, okay, deploy this, deploy encryption, deploy quantum encryption, deploy MFA, a lot of jargons in security world. But I want to understand why I need to deploy multi-factor authentication. What is the need for that? Why do I need a access management for all users? So there are multiple things we have to validate. And fundamentally, I believe security is a common sense and to be applied based on the data movement, because that is what which needs to be protected, as mentioned by sir also. It is very very clear, Vinayji. It is very very clear that data is, I mean, I don't believe data is oil. First thing, I really like the analogy what he said. It is something which gets produced continuously and it needs a continuous protection, and that is what we need to do.
Sure. Thank you very much, Sarita, for sharing that perspective. So with that, I think we are closer to the end. I would invite Vikram to summarize and share his perspective and probably how to gain more agility and flexibility with different kind of innovations what we discussed and leverage cloud and edge effectively. Vikram, if you can summarize, and then we'll wrap up the session. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, thanks. So I think we all said the same thing in varying ways, right? So I think at the end of it, every organization is trying to develop a very robust hybrid cloud strategy. And they're also creating ample room for edge clouds to emerge as they discover more use cases. And this use cases thing is also like like Vinayji's pilots only, but where people have applied themselves, I think the use cases do emerge to fit the bill. And as they fit the bill, I think people plan a more distributed cloud environment. And as that emerges, you have a very robust security strategy. Of course, there are many emerging open frameworks. To the point mentioned earlier by others, the lots of jargons as well. Spiffy is one. So I guess we are in a wonderful stage of evolution where organizations are doing what makes sense to themselves. But here is our attempt to kind of say, look, these could be the sub steps. And I think it was also mentioned about how each strategy and then leads to sub steps, and so on and so forth. And as you evaluate, you just check what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, drop, and then move. And every business might have a different need. So, for example, the industry 4.0 is not the same for everybody. Right? So, I think most organizations are doing the best for themselves. I think we are in a very exciting phase in India as well. And hopefully, the next year, with a much higher GDP, all of us will be smiling back again in a short while. And of course, L&T and Asian Paints will know first because of the kind of industries that they are in.
Thanks, Vikram. Thanks for summarizing and ending with a positive note. I think accelerating your business at the edge with data from people, places, and things. Definitely, we need to unleash creativity by leveraging people, processes, and technology. What we time and again we have said, and we need to reach the next level of efficiency as Vikram and Chetan also pointed out, and to get benefits from new insights from data where the action is. uh, you need integrated strategy which should involve security at the forefront, which Sarita mentioned, and Vinay also highlighted how data probably is not the new oil, but you need to make a comprehensive approach to leverage it effectively, and you need to see the historic backgrounds as well. So I think all in all, it was a phenomenal session. I thank all of you for sharing such incredible and incredible insights, and I'm sure our participants would leverage from the knowledge, and as they move forward and try to replicate some of the successes what we have seen so far, and try innovation from cloud and edge to modernize their IT environment for better efficiencies. Thank you very much once again to all of you, and thanks to all our participants. It was great interacting with you. Hope to see you soon.
Thank
Again.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you all.
Chetan.